Hey everyone, John here with Growing with Gordon, and today's conversation is going to be around kind of a part 2 of what we discussed before on other real estate investing opportunities and options and scenarios and just creative ways to find opportunity when it comes to real estate itself. We'll cover topics like commercial, rental, long-term holds, other creative options like wholesaling to assignment of deals, syndication, seller financing, subject to, and as I've expressed before, we're going to go into many conversations around these individual topics that I'm mentioning now. So looking forward to diving deep. Let's get into it. Moving on into the commercial world, as I touched on a little bit before, commercial where you have 5+ units. The main difference with commercial is that it's the different type of financing, different metrics that a bank is looking for with commercial loans versus residential loans. And then investors, there's different criteria that they're looking for when it comes to commercial opportunities versus residential opportunities. So there's a friend of mine, old friend from school, for whatever reason, he couldn't get a loan to buy his own house, but he was able to get a commercial loan to buy a small motel, like an 8-unit, 10-unit motel that he lived in one of the rooms, managed the rest, and now he would love to get him on just to have a discussion of where he's started and what he's working on now. But last we spoke, he owns, I believe, a restaurant, a coffee shop, 2 hotels, and he's currently developing his own mobile home park up in Maine, I believe, Bar Harbor area. So it's just amazing what you can do if you do a little bit of research and have that perseverance to just follow through, take action. So I digress. 5 units, 6 units, there's a different sort of analysis that you use to analyze them. But in the grand scheme, it's just 5 apartments or 6 apartments or 10 apartments. What is the loan cost of owning it? How much do you need to bring to the table? What's the rent? And there's obviously more. There's maintenance, there's capital expenditures, there's taxes, there's insurance. There are a lot of these metrics that you have to take into consideration that take away from the profit. And then are you managing this yourself or are you having a company do it? So a lot of these units, usually when it comes to commercial properties, I'd highly suggest talking to someone who does it, asking them all of the questions, mistakes that they've made, what they look for. There are plenty of podcasts, plenty of other resources on the internet. Bigger Pockets is one of them. So just listen, research, but don't be afraid to take action. That's usually the hardest part for folks. As I move down, mixed use is still in the commercial world, but a mixed use means that it's a mixture of residential and commercial kind of usage or space. Sometimes people love the combo of the two. So if there's a restaurant downstairs and 2 or 3 apartments upstairs, so you have different leases, different things to look at, but everyone has their own path or route that they'd rather go. If you purchase commercial spaces in general, so such as offices, restaurants, any office or usually commercial space that you see, again, higher amount of money, just a higher volume to get into it, but usually commercial leases are anywhere from 5 to 10 years. So in some cases might be even more stable, but do the research, find someone who's done it before jumping into that world. Some of my favorite ones, and I mentioned a few of these before, mobile home parks. That's a commercial real estate investment opportunity. Lots to analyze, but it's just people, you own the land, mobile homes, if you own the mobile homes, if other people do, but they pay like a ground rent per month. And it's a lot of investors just focus specifically on mobile home parks. Other popular ones are storage facilities. Same idea. You build the building, you have individual units that people rent and usually forget about. I didn't forget, but there was a period where it was like 1.5 to 2 years where I had a rental space of just stuff from an old house in Richmond when I moved up to Northern Virginia. And I just couldn't figure out a space to put that stuff. And so I had this $200 monthly fee for about 1.5 years. And it seems minimal, but over time it does add up. So development, this is, as I said before, a whole other discussion around. And if you have land to then develop, or you're on a development team where you're building townhomes or single family homes and commercial, both, it's its own opportunity. Let's just put it that way. This is a mixture between creative but also commercial housing opportunities are student housing, so college towns. Technically a quad 4-unit property. If it's close to a college, you're probably going to be renting to students. And so you just have to understand what the rules are, what the school year is. It may not be a 12-month. It may be a shorter term lease. It's just things to think about. And the other one I have on the list is senior living. So if you're purchasing the entire senior citizen complex, or if it's a smaller, like a single family house where you're having someone with in-care assistance, there are a few different routes you can go with this. And even just having this conversation, the negative connotation, this isn't senior living, but halfway houses, but you can work out an agreement with the county or institution where folks can be in a specific room or pay per bed for a period of time. And there's ways to make a lot of money that way. So again, comes back to what experience you want to have. So moving on, that's just rentals. Other ways to invest and make money with real estate is what helped start this conversation is flipping. So different conversations will be around what buy box, what that means, what criteria do people search for, kind of back of the envelope math if you're at a property, small ticket items, big ticket items that there's a whole world of flipping where you can do quite well, or you can also be hit really hard. And so it's just, no matter the research and planning that you do, you just can't control the market and what the market wants to do. But for this talk, there's quick flipping in and out short term, which is what collective we focus on. People live in the flip. There's still a loophole now. We'll see if the loophole continues. But if you live in a home for 2 of 5 years, you don't have to pay capital gains tax. So what a lot of folks do is they purchase a home, they move into it, they flip it over those 2 years of the 5 years, and then they sell it and do it again. A couple friends that I knew in Richmond, that's what they grew up. That's what their parents did. And then you can flip residential, also commercial buildings. People who come in, renovate a commercial space and then lease it out, like the Burr strategy I talked about before, or they sell it. A few different routes you can go with it. And then you can also flip land specifically. And this is a kind of a combination of the creative route where people are able to purchase raw land, go through the county, get it to the point where it's buildable, where it's subdivided, there are lots. It basically you create that piece of paper, and then you're able to sell that piece of paper where transferring raw land into buildable land, and then you sell that to a developer to then build commercial, build residential, custom home builder, whatever the case may be. But that's a way to flip land itself. More creative options instead of flipping necessarily. If you find a deal or a house and you're not in a position to, or there are companies that base everything they do off of this term is wholesaling. Again, look at the rules and regulations of the different regions just to make sure that you're doing it the right way. And I know a lot of laws were recently passed of what you can and can't do when it comes to wholesaling or assignment, but you find a house that needs work, then you sell it to another company or flipper, and then you can get a small little assignment fee or wholesale fee, whatever that is. A lot of times these homes are found through friends, off market too. That's a popular one. There are different marketing strategies that people use to find these deals and then wholesale or assign it to other people to then do the flip. That's a creative way to make a lot of money in a very stress-free way-ish. Other options, which I'm not as familiar, syndication. We use syndication on a smaller level to help raise funds for these flips or purchasing rentals or investing in the company specifically, but people can use syndication in the 10 millions or tens of millions where now they're purchasing larger commercial deals or land development opportunities where you need more funding. But if you invest in the syndication, there may be a way to get quarterly payoffs, monthly, interest at the end, small bits of equity. There are a few different ways you can go about it. Other creative options, seller financing, which different market, you would see a lot more of this, where the seller may take on more of the risk of financing the property, even if it's in your name. And they'll do that for an agreed upon amount of time before then the deed changes or the title changes to the person, to the buyer. And then subject to deals, if someone is not doing as well, if they're having a harder time making payments. Actually, I won't go into subject to deals. I'm going to do a little more research on them before talking about it in more detail. But seller financing, subject to, are also creative options to find opportunities to then flip it, rent it, wholesale it, whatnot. Other passive options, as I mentioned before, are if you want to invest in what's called a REIT, and it's where a public or private company that owns a larger amount of real estate, usually all over the country. There are a few different avenues you can go, but do research on those specific companies, obviously, before you invest. ETFs, which in English terms are real estate mutual funds. So you can invest in stocks or you can invest in ETFs. Kind of hinted at this before, but crowdfunding, where it's kind of larger group syndication or money pools, which then they invest in, again, mobile home parks, hotels, other commercial, residential, just really depends on which route you want to go. And then kind of lastly is becoming a realtor. Specifically, it's a full-time job, but you can be a part-time realtor. You can help friends and family, and the commission that you get, it's not passive, it's definitely active, but you can build a team. Each brokerage that you're a part of has its own benefits. So like I'm with EXP, we have a smaller cap that we owe to the brokerage, and we have a huge opportunity with revenue share, which I'll get into. I'll probably have a colleague of mine join us for that discussion to talk more about EXP. And then you also get stock options. There's just a lot of benefits with it. But again, every brokerage has pros and cons as well. And then a lot of times, since you're in the business of real estate, you're able to find deals before they go to the market. And then really, lastly, even if you're purchasing a home not with the intent of turning it into a rental property, this is the way I explain it to clients, is like every home you purchase is treated like an investment. You're investing in yourself, you're investing in your family. You have similar criteria that you look for in your house. Yes, there are maintenance expenses, insurance, taxes. It takes a lot of money to, one, get into the market to purchase, but also to maintain it and hold on to it and keep it in good condition. But when you add value over time, if you fix things, if you update bathrooms, this is what's called forced appreciation on top of the regular appreciation that's already happening. And then on top of that, if you're able to get a little bit of money either off the top, or even if you had to overpay, if you know, or if your realtor knows the market and the appreciation, there's different areas are having a much higher rate of appreciation, or in general, the average across the entire country is anywhere from 3 to 4%. But some areas in Northern Virginia during 2018, 2019, 2020, they were seeing upwards of 12 to 14% appreciation. So again, the market varies. It's good to do your research or to work with someone who has their eye on the market daily, because there are changes, there are fluctuations. Every neighborhood is a little different, but in all, purchasing a home, it's an investment in yourself, and over time, you will see the benefits of that. So I think I covered a lot today, and I'm excited to go into more detail on each of these points that I mentioned and talking more about just real estate in general, what we're seeing in the market. And that'll probably be my next discussion, is just what I'm seeing now, what I'm hearing other people saying, listings, if they're sitting longer, the average days on market has increased, but we'll cover that in the next conversation. So until then, research, enjoy, explore, and take action.